Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Brewster, and welcome to Aspects of Energy, a forum where we talk about ways you can raise your energy. Man, for me in my life, it's music is one, but God is sure another. And our guest today, Michelle Schmidt, wrote a really wonderful book called Carried um, about her daughter. And I know it's sorry, a really sensitive topic to talk about, but I appreciate your being on and willing to talk about it with, and you can say anything you want, but the main thing that I wanted to focus on with Easter just being around the corner is something that you said that I thought was pretty amazing. You said toward the end of the book, sometimes blessings are too great to even take in. Our finite minds and hearts and understandings are limited in grasping the magnitude of the events that happened to us. We couldn't even fully comprehend that we had been delivered, that we had truly found Annie. The magnitude of this blessing was so great that we had to let the reality of it slowly distill on us over and over. And that, when you've lost your daughter, to be able to look at it in terms of gratitude is pretty amazing.
Hmm.
So I just wanted you to tell us a little bit about that journey, or how you're seeing it at this point in time. Anything you want to say about that?
Um,
You might
yes.
tell us a little bit. Probably not everybody knows the story.
Okay. Well, she was an avid hiker and she was living in Oregon and she just loved, loved, loved to go run the mountains and I was flying into Oregon to go be with her and she was going to show me the places that she loved and we were going to go camping. We were going to go drive up the coast and go up to the San Juan Islands. And um, when I I kept calling her. Last time I talked to her was like on Sunday, and then I was going to fly in on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I kept calling her and saying, "Hey, I'm coming," or I'd say, "Hey, my plane just landed," and she just wasn't answering. And so finally, I thought, "Oh, her phone. It's been glitchy." That's one thing I was going to do is try to help her figure out her phone. And so I just rented a car and I went to her apartment and knocked on the door and her roommate answered the door and I said, "I'm here to go camping with Annie." And she said, "Oh, I thought you guys had already gone." She said, Annie's been gone since Sunday." And at that point I was like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. So I ended up going to the police and we end up reaching out on social media, which I never would ever have wanted to do, but we just had to try to find her. We didn't know where she was. Trying to contact all friends and um, a private detective got involved. No, a missing persons detective got involved, and the police ended up finding her car at the base of Munra Mountain up Columbia Gorge. And so that was comforting because that would have been a typical place for her to go and to be. And so we figured, oh, she's lost in the mountain, or maybe something's happened to her and she couldn't get off the mountain. Um, So that was the story. We were then looking for our daughter, and it ended up taking a month before she was actually found. Um, but there were so many miracles that happened. There was so much help that we received, not only from the spirit, because we definitely were sustained through the spirit and felt the prayers of people. I mean, literally felt sustained. But the amount of people that came out to help us was just amazing. I just felt such an amazing amount of help. And even that show of support was a miracle. We we couldn't help but feel grateful for that. So, yes, it was awful and sad, and at the same time, we were filled with gratitude, if that makes sense.
Wow. Tell us about receiving the scrapbook.
Oh, yeah, that was an amazing example of kindness. So, one of our good friends, we were living at Bountiful at the time. One of our friends up there, she decided to, and her kids were my kids' age, so they knew my kids and Annie, and she reached out to the kids in that community and said, "Send me any pictures you have of Annie, anything you've done together with her, any memories you have." And then she just killed herself putting together these beautiful scrapbooks of pictures and memories and experiences. And
And Michelle's got a picture of Annie on her cover here.
yeah, there she is. And then the miracle part of it is that she said, I had to bring this to you this Wednesday. It had to be done this Wednesday. And she said, I don't know what it was, but Annie just kept saying, get it to her on Wednesday, get it to her on Wednesday. And she said, I don't know why, but here I am. And Annie wanted you to have it today. And I was like, well, it's my birthday. So it was just really sweet. Just another one of those little tender mercies where you're like, okay, the Lord is aware what's going on here.
Yeah.
It was so sweet.
Some of the things that, well, that's one of the things that you mentioned. Like I said, as I read your book, I kept starring different places in the margin because I went, I've done that. I've done that. I mean, it was like looking at my husband's story, but just in someone else's family.
Mm.
My husband actually, and this is really lovely to have you on right now, in 2 days, it will be 19 years that my husband died. And so this is just very appropriate. But you talked about the orchestration and things coming together in order to find her. There were several times in my husband's very fast cancer journey that he would wake up and he'd said, I think I signed up for this.
Hmm.
And some people believe that, in the pre-existence before we were born here, that we chose experiences that we're going to have. I don't know about that, but it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of a lovely idea. But there were so many things that happened. For instance, my husband had been over at BYU and he didn't get tenure. And that's a whole nother story. But he was still working there, doing consulting. And consulting pays well, but it's like a real estate lifestyle. You don't get paid at all for like 5 or 6 months, and then you get paid well. So it's feast or famine. It's really hard. And he wanted something that he would have loved something that was more standard, more steady. And a company up in Ogden asked him to come and said, we need someone who has a PhD in either mechanical or chemical engineering to head up a department. And so they asked him. And from us, we're an hour south of Salt Lake, and Ogden is an hour north of Salt Lake. I know for people in California and New York, commuting that far is no big deal, but in our
Mm-hmm.
state, it is. And most people don't do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a big deal. But it was through working with that company that we had insurance. And
Mm.
insurance is the only reason that I'm sitting here in this house, in this neighborhood, and being able to do the things that I can do to serve other people. If he hadn't had that, there's no way that I could be here. And that was one of those, orchestration kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you you also said in your book, if my will was not aligned with his, meaning God's, then I would be distancing myself from him and doing this on my own. And on my own, I would be a total wreck. Can you tell us a bit more that idea of aligning?
Okay, ask that last part again. What did you say? What
Well,
was the question?
you said if my will was not aligned with God's,
Mm-hmm.
I would be distancing myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really thought of in those terms often.
Hmm.
I think sometimes people think of being obedient or following commandments, or I don't know, what else would people say to feel that God is in your life, but you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
aligning your will so that your will was going the same direction as his.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that is kind of a life goal, I would say, don't you think? To just try to, because I believe in a loving, merciful Heavenly Father that wants the best for me. And I believe that He sees the full picture. And even though He allows things to come into my life along the way that I wouldn't have chosen, I believe that I can trust Him, that He can see what that is going to do for me, where it's going to take me, and what it is going to develop in me and help me to become. And so I just trust Him. I trust Him. And so it was hard for me to pray so adamantly for my will because I was trying so hard to align my will with His. When we were praying to find her, there are so many people in the Columbia Gorge that have never been found.
Is it just
It
so many trees?
Yes, it is unreal. It's very, very dense, and lots of people get lost and they are not found. So, it was a very real possibility that we might never find her. But I had such a burning desire, of course, to find her. And after, a length of time, we knew that she wouldn't be alive, but I just desperately I wanted to find her. And so I would pray earnestly for that, but at the same time, be trying to submit to what the Lord's will was. So it was this thing of um, seeking to trust, because maybe it would have been His will that we didn't find her. I don't know, and I would have to be okay with that. Otherwise, I would resent God. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we get in these situations where we go through hard things, and sometimes our reaction is to resent God, to be mad at Him,
That's a
to,
reaction, and that's often a first reaction.
right, right.
And to the heavens.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I was trying to express there is I didn't want to distance myself from Him. I did not want to lose that connection because that was everything to me. That was my strength, that was my power, that was my comfort. It was, with my Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. It was everything. So it was this weird place that I was in, and we do it with other things too. I mean, not just something this dramatic where we really are praying for something, but at the same time seeking to submit our wills. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. And what I'm thinking right now is um, your experience was very, very unusual. And it was something that most people don't have. And yet, all of us have difficulties in life. with our children, with us, with neighbors, with a spouse. We have chronic illness, we have death, we have a lot of people have older parents that they're to take care of. And and so the principles that you are saying about staying close to God and kind of working with Him and trusting Him, that's something that I think we all need in our different
Mm-hmm.
locations and our different life
Mm-hmm.
experiences.
Yeah, a lifelong goal, of course, to try to work on that, you know, to try to keep that connection and make the connection stronger and stronger and stronger. So we feel more and more unified with him.
Well, and I noticed one of the things you said in here was that, you know, that your family and you and John and your group prayed every morning, you know, kind of like a little ritual, a little devotional almost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't think that there's ever a time that you know, that we can say, "Oh, good, I'm aligned with God. I don't have to work anymore." You know, I got there. I don't think there's ever a time we get there. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think there are, well, like you say, the experiences that we have are designed to help shape us and hone us and refine us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we get to a certain point, and that's better than what we were 5 years ago or
Right.
20 years ago or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
there's still more. And so I think it's an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unless we get stuck in things like anger and resentment and these kinds of things can impede our progress. So it's, again, maybe that's another form of stretching, is seeking to be free from some of those things.
Yeah. I would love anybody to unmute and ask Michelle a question if you would like. Yes.
Yes, I think the book, when everything appeared fresher and newer, and the scene of the mountains and the trees and so on became more vibrant to you. I think you're seeing with four eyes. You're seeing with yourself, but you're also seeing it with your daughter,
Mm,
which means everything's being magnified now. You're seeing it. Two people are seeing the same thing. Therefore, everything becomes more vibrant.
mm,
When my wife left, everything's becoming more beautiful, more vibrant, more of everything. So that's what I got from your book. That she's with you, and she's seeing with you and experiencing with you, and so
mm-hmm.
everything's doubled up, and your senses are much keener now.
Oh, I love that thought. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I share how I heard her talk to me. And at that point that you're talking about in the book, I heard her speak to me. And then I haven't since, which is kind of a hard thing
Darn.
because I'm like, I know you can because you did. I don't know what the rules are as far as if people how involved they can be. I just keep thinking, well, why can't they have more interaction with us? I mean, why does it have to be so iron curtain lockdown? Come on. Give us a little more. And that's been something that I've kind of struggled with because I'm like, I would love something more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't forget, you're taking the adventure with her. Her mind is obviously much younger than yours, her time on this earth, but there's this new energy that's out there that's hers that vitalizes you if you focus on it.
That's cool.
It really is, because I'm doing stuff now. My wife passed, I would never even think of, but she was such a go-getter. But I'm into stuff that something's driving me to it, and I'm saying, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
No matter what. So, you're going to get stuff from your daughter that say, I don't is kind of off the charts, but let's do it anyway, right?
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with what you're saying because my daughter and I too, we have learned to love the things she loves more and to appreciate the thing. And we would say, oh my gosh, Annie would be so happy with us right now. And so, yeah, what you're saying totally rings true to me.
It's really surrendering to the thought that's off the charts. You say, well, I'm 81, I can't do this thing,
Hmm.
but then you do it anyway because guess what? Somebody's giving you an idea, which I'm convinced is from the other side, and away we go.
Good for you. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask is what have you noticed lately? What have you noticed since with your other children, with you and John?
Noticed in what way? Like, what do you mean noticed?
Just her influence or the
Mm.
memory of her influence,
Mm-hmm.
or how she, like Bruce said, how she keeps coming into
Mm-hmm.
your life.
Mm-hmm. She was a huge, huge fan of music, and she would spend hours researching new music. She would mostly find it on British radio stations, or she would start to, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how she found all of these artists, but she would find the coolest, newest, cutting edge music and make CDs. She'd burn CDs for him and play them for us. And then, like a couple years later, we'd hear them on the radio. Like she was cutting edge finding music. So that's something that's really fun in our family is we'll be like, oh, I found an Annie song. And they just have a flavor and a flair and a newness and an experimentalness about them. And so, yeah, that's something that we cherish as we think about her. And then also, she loved people so much. She loved so completely, so wholeheartedly, so unconditionally. Um, and especially in our culture, in our community here, and she was the person to reach out to the people on the fringes. She just brought them right into her heart. And I really feel like that is something that has helped our family adopt more of that kind of an attitude and be aware and look for and try to do that. I'd say those are two really big influences she's had on our family.
I remember there was a man named Dallin Oakes whose mother was a widow, and she was the one that was always going out and taking bread to other people and cookies and pies to other people and serving other people, and they would talk about their dead father often. I'm not sure your dad would like you to do that, or he said he was 10 years old. I'm sorry. I know how to silence my phone, but I don't know how to silence the computer. I'm sorry. Anyway, he said he was 10 years old before he realized his mom was a widow.
Wow.
They would talk about, other people in the area, and we need to help our widows. And since they were the ones that were always helping other people, he never realized, oh, that's us.
Hmm.
So that was a real influence that I felt that they were able to have the influence of his dad in their home, even though he wasn't there anymore.
That's neat.
And I just had a feeling that Annie would be that way for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was her gift.
Just for you, Michelle, back on that, I wanted my book to stop on April 10th when he died. Obviously life goes on, and it's been 19 years and there have been other things that have happened, but that's for another book. I wanted that book to stop then.
Mm-hmm.
So I do allude and I say, I have felt his hand once, um, but I don't even tell what that story is.
Hmm.
And the story of that was that our family had recorded 2 albums before my twins went on missions, knowing that we were capturing the twins, but never dreaming we were capturing my husband.
Mm.
And so now all these songs are on a hard drive, and they've got to be turned into a CD, into 2 CDs. And so we had to, my husband was sick when he recorded. He used to be able to play hammer dulcimer pieces perfectly, which is a zillion notes.
Hmm.
But he was sick when he recorded, so they were good, but they weren't perfect. And I had to go in and fix a couple of things. And the first time I went in, I found, to my dismay, I didn't even know how to tune the dulcimer. I always let him tune it. It's 62 strings. It's a lot more than 6 guitar strings. It's a lot more than my harp, which is, I think, 33 strings. It's a lot of strings. And there's a trick to it, and I didn't know the trick. And so I had to just bring the instrument home. So now it was on the last day, the last song, the last recording. I had to do this right, or we had to leave off the song. And I really wanted this song. And when I went into the studio, that small little recording studio, this kind of golden light encompassed the room, which is a light that lets me know that Heavenly Father is there. And I was able to record it. But previously, I'm sorry, I'm getting 2 stories mixed up. Previously, when our family without him was performing up at the Assembly Hall. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous Victorian building, beautiful architecture. And the hammer dulcimer, you're supposed to have your hand, just exactly straight. And I hadn't had time to practice it much, so my hand was curved. And as I started the song, I felt a hand on top of mine, switch my hand so it was straight. And in doing that, it also kind of brought the tempo down just a little bit, so I didn't get carried away with it.
Mm.
And I was just grateful that happened, but I've got a huge audience out there. It was December 31st. It was the last section before they all went outside to see the fireworks. There were a ton of people there. And I was just happy that I had some help. And then later I thought about it, and I realized I knew what that hand felt like on me. That was his hand. And that's the only time that I've felt that. And so heaven, I found out, likes to work through prayers being sent to Heavenly Father through Jesus. And that's how heaven likes to work. And that's how heaven has set it up. Darn.
Yeah, there is this thing where we were born and we were created by our environment, and we get to the point where we don't know that we don't know, meaning that we've been pulled away from who we really are by the environment that we're in, the world that we're in. And then we get to the point where we have a tragedy, or we have something that sort of shakes us. And we come to a point where we realize we don't know, or so we know that we don't know, meaning that we now become open to whatever. Because you can't, when something tragic happens, you can't not escape it unless you want to discover something. And so the search is, when somebody passes, you want, what is there for me to know? So there's this enlightenment from I don't know that I don't know to I know that I don't know. You're headed towards full enlightenment. Full enlightenment is you know that you know. And people I've noticed when they pass, they have this calmness over them. And I think they get to that point where they know that they know, meaning that they know where they're going, they know what's going to happen, they know what everything's all about, and they have this peacefulness come over them. And so we're in that journey from not knowing that we don't know to we know that we don't know. And in some cases, when we get to the point where we know, then there's no more pain because we know everything. So you're on that road. I think you know that you don't know. I think you are open to whatever's going to happen from the thoughts that you get. So you're in that road to enlightenment.
Mm.
And from that, as you get closer to enlightenment, then there's no pain, there's no sadness, there's no remorse. It just is.
Mm.
And I gather from that book, you're getting closer to it.
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, I hope so. That's the goal.
Well, it sounds like Annie helped you toward your progress and your
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
And your book, is helping us. Thank you for, it was probably hard to do, but thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
Michelle. This is something lasting. And the
Yeah.
other thing I loved about this is how you wove in your, the beginning days of when you met John, and so now here's this situation. Oh, now we've got these children. Now we've got these twins that we're working on. Oh, and here's the situation in the Columbia River Gorge again. And so you threaded both of those together, and so we felt we had more history for
Mm-hmm.
you to understand the complexity of your whole family, and that was lovely.
Thank you. I felt like I needed to give some context of the progress. He speaks about growing in enlightenment, and of course it's a lifelong journey, right? But I felt like I needed to give some context of the journey to that point that had enabled us to get through the experience of losing Annie. Wouldn't you say that you take the cumulative effect of the things you have gone through, the things you've learned, the enlightenment you have gained, and you're able to then use that as you go through your next experience?
Well,
So,
aren't we the dreams of our parents? We look at our lives. When we were born, we're born to them out of love. And so when they pass, they probably have some say, I didn't finish this off, or I didn't do this. Maybe my son Bruce will do this, or maybe my daughter Leslie will do this.
mm-hmm.
And so there's this yearning for the previous generation to say, look, would you clean up some of my mess
Mm-hmm.
here?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think our job is to clean it up, wherever that takes us. And so we're in this mission to say, how can we make a difference in this planet? How can we make a difference in our family? How can we make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Let me leave my family in a better, closer to God than when I was born. So
Mm-hmm.
that's our mission. And I think that this book is your release of that and understanding of that, and how you can, this book is how you can make a difference like your daughter would make a difference if she was here. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
I think that book was cathartic for you. And I think
It was.
I see that was beneficial to you and the family. And it was well documented and heartfelt words. I just couldn't imagine being in that position for that long a time to realize the inevitable. But from that comes this, okay, where do we go from here? And then it's about carrying on the mission. And the mission is your daughter's talking to you. And so she may not be words, it may not be thoughts, it's just a gut feeling. And I say to you, go with it, whatever that is.
Thank you. That's very, very sweet feedback. I very much appreciate that.
Catherine?
I was unmuted. Oh, I'm just listening. I'm enjoying this. Can you hear me? Wait a minute. Now I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Elaine.
Well, I'm not talking.
Okay, I'm just listening and enjoying this. I haven't read the book yet and would really like to. And Elaine has told me a little bit about the story, which I think is really a beautiful one. I think people have. There's just so many circumstances that I've heard about people connecting with relatives that have passed on. But they're all very different, and I don't know that we can make any generalizations about it. And I think people have different sensitivities. a lot of them seem like they are occasions where the person is with someone until they feel like they don't need to be there anymore. I had a friend who felt like his father was with him for several months after his father passed away, and then left, and he interpreted it as um, his father saying, "Well, you can handle things on your own now."
Hmm.
So I know one story of my son was on a mission in El Salvador, and his grandfather, my husband's father, had diabetes and was on kidney dialysis, and we knew that he would pass away soon. Um, but uh, this son that was on the mission didn't get word of it for several weeks after he'd actually passed. Back in the day when you got mail instead of email on missions. But he said that around the time that his grandfather had passed away, he'd felt one evening after really a hard meeting with missionary work, and he just kind of collapsed in bed. He just felt his grandfather at the foot of his bed saying, "I love you, and I'm proud of what you're doing on your mission." And that was it. It was just this one little moment right after he passed away. Um, so I think that, perhaps it's just those moments right after they're gone that they feel like they need to reassure you or they need to be there. Maybe it's that kind of timing, and then there are other things that they need to do, or they know that you're going to be okay and that you realize things. I don't know. It seems um, that there's just so many different ways, but I don't know that too many of them. I don't know. It's I do have a great nephew that until he was a teenager was particularly sensitive to things on the other side. And then he kind of lost it. I mean, he was a great kid still, but he lost that ability. He was about 9 when my mom passed away. No, my mom's 100th birthday. We had a birthday party for her at the top of the at the Lion House, where they have that big banquet room. I don't know if you've been there, but there's a big banquet room, and there's they say that, well, if a child is 5, you should have 5 guests, so that you don't overwhelm the child with too many guests. And so she was 100, so we had 100 guests, and it was really fun. And my brother is 20 years older than me, and he had already passed away, and this was his grandson that was a 9-year-old. So it was my great nephew, I guess, Jacob. And he was just this really shy little kid, and he didn't, say anything at the event. But afterwards, he told his parents that he had seen his Uncle Gene, who was my brother. He'd seen his Uncle Gene at this party with all his relatives celebrating my mother's 100th birthday. And he said, and he saw lots of other people too, and described them. So, for this special occasion, apparently, I mean, I really, trust that this was a true event, just because I know his parents, and I'd known other things that he had sensed. And so, of all the people that were there, this 9-year-old that had a special sensitivity realized that there were more people there than just the 100 at the birthday party. So maybe the occasion there was a special occasion, and then this particular child that had that kind of sensitivity that he kind of lost as he got older, even though he's still a fantastic kid. It just, that ability was something he had as a younger person. So it's difficult to say, but perhaps special occasions, and perhaps times of crisis, and perhaps just when they leave.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. There have been times like on Mother's Day or special family spiritual experiences when we're talking together or something. I feel an added something, and I believe that Annie is able to enjoy those moments with us.
Yeah, I think that I would like to think that. I think that's that's really, really true. And I know I have one friend that had one particular near-death experience or after-death experience that she's a great friend of mine, and I'm absolutely convinced that because of her experience that there is an afterlife, because she was there and described it very, very clearly.
Wow.
And so yeah, so I think that yeah, I really think they're there and aware of us, and um and there are those occasions when we know more, but we don't know the reasons why we don't have more of that. And maybe they're there all the time, and she's going, "Oh, Mom, I'm here all the time." You just don't know it.
Well, Bruce has said that he thinks that my husband is near me, a lot, and I'm going to go with that. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you, everyone. At the book of you, I mean, at the end of your book, I loved it, where you just said, "Thank you, Annie, for coming into this world and doing your best to make it a better place. You had a huge heart, and your life's work was to reach out to others and seek to help them feel the love that the Savior has for them." That's just, especially right now at Easter time, that's just such a lovely, lovely thing to think.
Yeah, I second that.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, everyone have a continued rest of a beautiful day and a lovely weekend, and go give someone your wonderful smiles, and that will raise their energy and it'll raise yours, and we'll all be better. Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.